It's your host, Holly. Welcome back to Hustling with Holly. You may have noticed that this episode is titled Didn't See That Coming, and this is in regard to some recent happenings in my life, and that's exactly what this episode is about. I'm going to be honest, I had a hard time writing this episode because it was just so weird, at least after everything that's happened to me in the last month. I can't believe I ended up here. Let me explain now. Basically, we're just going to dive right into it. I quit my job at Mod Pizza, and that is the most spontaneous thing I've done this year was quit my job. Basically quit it on the spot, kind of. Like, I literally straight up quit with no 2 weeks notice. I'd initially put in my 2 weeks, but then on the second day of my 2 weeks, I clocked out, sent my boss a message saying I quit, and then left the squad group chat just like that. And like, literally that was that. And that's the closest I've gotten to quitting a job on the spot, except I did finish out the day because, money. I was going to leave and just drive home on my lunch break, and never come back, basically. But I needed what little money was gonna come my way, So how did I get here? Well, basically, I had been acting manager for about a week. That's right, I got promoted to manager, which is cool, but didn't end up being cool. Anyway, so I was manager for about a week. Like, that's how long I had the title. And on my second week, they wanted me to close the entire store by myself, meaning it would be me and one other person closing the back of house. So just two people in the building. And I was like, what? Anyway, I'd only received 1 day of training that wasn't even actual training, and I didn't know any of the administrative stuff, that you're supposed to know. For example, I didn't know how to prepare a till for a proper drop, nor did I know how to get into the safe, access security, or have the keys to lock up the building. The only thing they taught me was how to do, breaks, how to run them. That was it. So I literally texted my boss letting him know that I was uncomfortable closing a store in a position that I hadn't been trained in, And basically, I really just didn't want to be a liability, and I felt as if I was being set up to fail. Anyways, I text my boss, and his exact response was, "You'll be fine." That's what he said. He was like, "You'll be fine." I was like, to which I responded with internal screaming, "Are you kidding me?" It really didn't seem like anybody cared, if I'm being honest. The other managers that were on my level were very concerned by the happenings that were going on and the different things that just kind of kept getting hurled at me, but they really couldn't do anything about it. So I just kind of reevaluated my situation and thought to myself, well, if they're not willing to put in ample time and effort into training me, then they can close the store themselves, literally. Like, if you don't want to train me, close the store yourself. So what had happened was I had my first solo close coming up at the end of that week. I quit 2 days before then, still with no training. So that's why I quit, which meant basically if I had done the solo close, I would have been doing it by myself. So by me quitting 2 days prior, it just meant that they would have to scramble to find someone to not only pick up my shifts, but also close the store on all the nights that I was supposed to close. Not to mention the team being severely understaffed due to turnover and upper management causing key players to burn out and refusing to increase labor that would allow more people to work more shifts that needed a full staff. So they basically shot themselves in the foot not taking me seriously, but it's whatever, that was their choice. I felt a little bit bad, but the behavior that just kind of kept going on was very repetitive, and so they just sort of got themselves into that situation. And it wasn't me and the other managers, it was like upper management. So, and I just was like, I'm outie. This isn't good, but it's okay because now I am free. I'm literally on the longest vacation that I've ever had, and I'm enjoying it a lot. I really am. As far as money goes, what I've been doing is kind of, not only using this time to reflect and do things that I want to do that I didn't have time for when working, but in order to make money, I've been doing a lot of DoorDash, which is helping. It's exhausting, but it works. And then I just started Instacart. Outside of Instacart, I've basically been picking up gigs here and there, doing little things to stay afloat, while I wait on my new job to open up, etc. I've been DoorDashing the most outside of gigs and Instacart. Instacart has just been kind of a wild card. Most of the time, if you're going to do Instacart, it's shopping in store for someone on their behalf, kind of like DoorDash, but grocery shopping. But it can be a lot of items for very little money. And I've noticed that something that happens quite frequently while doing Instacart is people will literally set a tip. So it'll be a $15 order with a $15 tip. And so it'll be a $30 order. And then they do that to kind of just get you to come out there. But they have about 24 to 48 hours to change the tip. So I've noticed it'll be really high at first and then they'll change it later just to save money. So I haven't really been doing Instacart because it's really shady up here. I know it works for some people in other places and that's great, but it has just been not a good thing where I'm at. So I've been doing DoorDash a lot recently. Had my first complicated customer that tried to get me in trouble. She said that her food wasn't delivered when it was. We literally have to take a photo of the food and submit it in the app. So there is no lying and saying that you didn't get your food, but that's what this lady was trying to do. It didn't work. I had to do an appeal and it was just really frustrating because it took me 3 hours out of my day to literally appeal this and talk to a bunch of reps, and it was just really annoying, but got it out the way. That was my first difficult customer. DoorDash is known to have a lot of customers that will say they didn't get stuff and sort of try to get their money back, refunded, and then get free food. It's a whole thing. I don't know if you've seen those like YouTube videos where it's just happening and then Dashers will come back or basically stake out the house and watch them get their food or come back and be like, hey, why did you say that you didn't receive your food when you did? And they'll have them on video like eating their food as they ask the question. I don't know. I haven't gone as far as that. I just had the one lady complaining. I hope I don't get more like her because it was really, really irritating. But, you know, it's DoorDash and it works for now. So where am I now? Y'all ready for this? I am back in coffee. Upon quitting Mod, when things were getting to be the absolute worst, I remembered a coffee shop that was hiring and I was referred to it by a friend who's also in coffee. So after a really bad night at Mod, I ended up sending my resume to this coffee shop out of sheer desperation for something that wasn't going to be as bad as Mod, something that was going to be better for me and my mental health, basically. And there was just a lot going on at Mod that I'm not really telling you, and that's kind of to protect you, the listener, because the things that were going on were not okay. But sent my resume into this little place one night. They got back to me the very next day and they're like, oh, you know so-and-so? And I was like, yeah, I know so-and-so. And they're like, oh, you have coffee experience? And I was like, yeah, I have coffee experience. Got an interview and it was all good vibes. I really liked the couple, the owners of the establishment, and ended up getting the job. So I'm literally back in coffee. And the really cool thing about this is that it's a local place. It's not a chain like Starbucks. I've worked for a lot of Starbucks in the past. This is an independent little coffee shop owned by this very sweet couple. So I'm really stoked about that. I'm stoked to be back in coffee because I had actually been trying for a while. Nothing was happening. So I just kind of let it go. But then I just kind of was my last real attempt and it worked out. So yeah, I'm back in coffee. Got a job as a barista at Woodinville's first independent coffee house. It's called Sidekick Coffee, if you're interested. The shop is literally being built as we speak, so it's under construction, so it'll probably open sometime this month. It is currently June. It's set to open the second week of June, so like the week of the 15th or so, but I'm thinking we probably won't be fully operational until like the third or fourth week, end of the month kind of stuff. So if you just want to hit us up end of the month or watch my Instagram socials, because I'll be posting about the grand opening. You can also find information about the grand opening on their Instagram at Sidekick Coffee. And yeah, leave a comment on their page saying Holly sent me, you know, just to freak them out. I think it'd be funny. But anyways, got the job and I am stoked. So like what does this mean though? You know, for me, I've been asking myself that question a lot recently, and to be perfectly honest, I really think this is where I need to be, you know? Anyone who's ever known me knows how much I like coffee, how much I like being in the coffee industry, and the reason that I took this job is because of the impact that I know it's going to have on the community, being the only independently owned coffee shop in the city. So I want to be able to connect with and pour into the community. For example, I love hearing about someone's day and engaging with them. And then what typically happens being a barista is that regulars will come back and proceed to update you on the happenings of their life, you know, from one cup of coffee to the next. You're literally a reoccurring character in their life, and you play a significant enough role in that they feel they can trust you and share intimate moments of their life with you. Meaning, like, if they're going in for a special surgery, or they got engaged, won a game, bought a car, stuff like that, they'll always want to share that stuff with you. That's what I found being in coffee, and that's awesome. You know, I love that. I'm excited to be doing that, and I'm really passionate about serving those kinds of people, you know, serving the community. You know, I love coffee. I love making it. And I love sharing it. It's not just the cup of coffee you share, it's those relationships. And I think that's pretty cool. As far as what's next goes, you know, that's another question I've been pondering, like, what's next, you know, because getting this job, a lot of people have been asking me if I'm going to be making a lot of money and working, you know, 40-hour work weeks, which is really not my goal and not the reason that I took this job in the first place. I really wanted a job that would give me purpose, specifically a job that would allow me to have a social life and do my creative stuff on the side. Because when I was working full time, I literally didn't have any form of a social life, nor was I able to do anything that made me happy. And I'm tired of doing life that way, you know? So this is not about the money. I just want to make rent and have fun. Literally just want to pay my bills and, you know, just do something I'm stoked about, you know? And really this is, in a way, this is my attempt at starting anew, you know, doing what's best for me while also making friends, being able to network with other people in coffee, creative, etc. And that's just kind of my plan, and I'm pretty stoked on it. I've noticed as I slowly try to get my life together, folks have been asking me what my long-term plan is, you know? Like, Harley, what's your long-term plan? What's your 5-year plan? Remember in high school, they used to ask you that a lot. Well, you know, I'm 21 and I still get asked that question, you know, Pop, what's your long-term plan? My long-term plan is to literally work at said coffee shop, figure out my creative, and have a beer every now and then. Like, game, set, match. That's my plan. And I think it's bulletproof, baby. That's my plan, and I'm happy with it. So stop asking me to have it all figured out. I don't know why people continue to ask that question. Whenever I tell people that, though, they look very concerned because I want to serve coffee, take photos, make videos, and drink a beer every once in a while. But in the end, I don't care what people think, and that's that. I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent now that I think about it. Yeah, this is probably a tangent. Okay, so I've been rewatching the hit series TV show Friends. You familiar with it? If not, then stop listening to the podcast. Unfriend me on all my socials. We can't be friends. Just kidding. Anyway, I love the show Friends. It's my favorite TV show, and I've been rewatching it. And I bring this up to say I've been thinking about the show a lot, and I feel like Rachel Green when she worked at the coffee house before she got into fashion, And if you think about it, I'm basically a mini Jennifer Aniston in the making because we have this in common. You know what? We've both had a cup of coffee at least once in our lifetime, okay? And that makes us exactly the same, bro. Like, I was thinking about, she's worked at a coffee shop. I've worked at a coffee shop. I don't know if Jennifer Aniston has worked at a coffee shop, but I know Rachel Green has worked at a coffee shop. And I think she's pretty cool. Her character is just fun. And she doesn't have it all together, but she's weirdly reassuring and just kind of spontaneous and about living life, in my opinion. And so, yeah, I'm basically Rachel Green, to sum it up. That's the conclusion we're coming to, is I'm awesome. Just kidding. Anyways, that's just me being a little dramatic, but I'm still hyped about this new path, and that's why I brought that up. I'm happy about this new path of mine, and I can't wait to see where it leads me. I know it's going to be someplace great. With that being said, I appreciate your listenership. Don't forget to rate this podcast 5 stars if you really like it. Write a review if you really love it. It really helps support the show. It really does. DM me a screenshot of a photo of you listening to today's episode, and I'll feature it on the official Instagram page at hustlinwithholly. If you didn't know, I've got an Instagram highlight labeled Hustlers, which is what I call you, the listeners of the show. And that is where I feature everything you guys send me. I love hearing from each and every one of you. So as Yogati once said, it goes down in the DM. All right. Before I let you go, if you can't get enough of the show and want to be involved in other ways, you can always follow the podcast on Twitter at hustlinwithholly, I believe. They wouldn't let me have the full name because it was too many characters. And you can always find it on the Instagram. There's a little link in bio that takes you to all the socials. And I just made a TikTok for the podcast, and I'm hoping to post the more riveting and vital pieces of advice from episodes that will have guests featured. I'm going to post it onto the TikTok as basically a clips only thing that, you can get just little tidbits of really good advice and insights, and hopefully that'll be useful to someone, right? And that way they don't have to listen to the whole podcast, because those episodes are usually 45 minutes interviews. Anyway, handle is exactly the same. It's Hustlin' with Holly on TikTok, which will be more fun when I'm able to make a video podcast in which you will be able to see me and the guest in future episodes instead of just a graphic like on the YouTube channel. So just know I am working on it, and yeah. Okay, bye. I hope you have a wonderful week. Make it a good one. I'll see you next week. Peace.